Welcome back. I am at a really exciting part of this entire process. I was going to wait and just do a filming at the very end and do a flip through, but I thought it would be really cool to kind of let you see what the process is of me finishing out the cover. As I mentioned, a couple of really exciting things since you guys were last here. Let me take this off for just a second. Remember in the first video, I talked about how it'd be really cool if I could use, instead of regular string, I could use what would essentially be friendship bracelet. I did end up finding some string that actually looks like friendship bracelets. And so I have put the grommets and the friendship bracelets in there together. Now, for the closure, I ended up finding a belt, an elastic children's belt that was Care Bears theme. It's actually vintage, original, vintage children's belt from the 80s. Now, it did come, the condition was a little iffy. I got it off of eBay. There were a few options, but this one was super cute with the little rainbows and the bears and whatnot, and the cute little buckle there. So when it arrived, I was a little concerned because it had some condition issues. It's a little wonky. There were some areas where it had some rust because it was an adjustable belt, and this little claspy thing, after 40 years of being somewhere, definitely had some significant rust on it, and it had caused a rusty spot. Now, I did find a chemical I was able to treat that, so the vast majority of the rust, I was able to get the rust to kind of disappear to some extent, not completely, but it definitely is not as dark as it was. So where I'm at right now is trying to figure out exactly how big, or where I want how wide I want it, because I don't think I thought about putting this back on, but it is really, really rusty on the inside, like really gross. And so I don't want it to cause the same rust issue in the future. So the reality is that there's not a whole lot that I would have to cut off. So I thought about just stitching this on. And so that's why I've got it kind of pinned or clipped at the moment. It is stretchy. It's actually elastic. So I think it'll be okay with making it fixed instead of adjustable, because as things are added, it'll stretch to accommodate those. So right now I've got it pinned. I'm going to end up coming through here and sewing right here, so that way that's done. The other thing that I was going to do, and why I have a bunch of Charmit stuff. Charmit, by the way, has an entire line right now. This is spring of 2025. They have a whole line of Care Bears charms. And so I literally bought one of each of the Care Bears charms. And then I also got, there's a rainbow, and then there's a heart with a rainbow, which I thought was really cute. So I thought about, like, originally I'd also bought the charm necklace, and I thought about cutting it and connecting it to the belt, and then having the charms on here. I don't know that I want to cut this because it's so cute. So that's where I've got to figure that out. I might see if I can just connect it, because it would be super cute if my sister can, take this off and give it to my niece or whatever, and it can be part of her charm stuff. So I thought about just wrapping it underneath here, would be cute, and then it would double over essentially, and that would work too. And then I wouldn't have to actually cut the chain, because the Charmit stuff, by the way, is not super expensive. I think that the necklace is like the most expensive part, which is like $12, and each of the charms are like $7. Anyway, I thought about doing something like this and then clipping. All of these have these little claw clips on them, right? And so I'm just taking them and clipping them on, which I thought would be super cute. And so they just kind of dangle. Of course, I also have these that I bought from Etsy, which I will share the link on all of these if I didn't in the first one. This will, of course, these do hold a little picture, so you can put something in there. And those I included on the top here oops, I don't know if you can see that. I've made a little dangle. It's just a little D-ring that I sewed into the spine of the book. So it can easily then accommodate just clipping anything and everything on here. I thought I'll tie on a few little additional things. So those will just kind of dangle off the side. So between the Care Bears that'll be on the front here and a few of these little things attached on the spine or on the pages to a couple of little hooks, I think we're in business. The only other thing that I was going to throw in, of course, somewhere in the Care Bears pin. Anyway, the next thing after I get all of this situated is for me to do a flip through with you guys so you can see the inside pages. So I'm really excited to be able to do that. So that's coming next. Okay, that's sewn on there now. This is definitely not going to work with the grommets because this won't fit through the grommet heads. However, I do have these little tiny, can you see that? Clippies. They're not clips, they're technically safety pins, the rounded bottom safety pins. So I thought what I'd do is on the back side of here, add the safety pins in. It's just magnetic and unmagnetic. And so that it creates a loop that I can attach or feed the thing through. So the loop is down at the bottom. Okay. So then I can essentially send this through also. Clip. It's magnets. This is just a little, those old stuff on magnet belts. These are too cute. Anyway, then I can just feed this through here. And I've got plenty of space to be able to do that. Let me claw clip this together. It can hang down a little bit even. Super cute. Anyway, that can be taken off relatively easily. Super adorable. It will kind of hang down like so on the belt. And I've, again, made this loose enough that once they start adding, additional things, she's chunky. And just a reminder, this was not by any means an inexpensive endeavor to put together. So, I mean, nobody ever talks about how much things cost. I will throw up all the links to everything that I ordered, obviously with the exception of I can't give you the link to the belt because it was a one-off on eBay. They had some other really cute ones. There was another one that I think it was more on the red, how the Care Bears logo is red. It was in the kind of a red themed, which didn't really go with the colors of the outer, which is why I didn't end up going with that one. And it was in definitely better condition. Anyway, these elastic belts are super cute, and it's a super unique way to bring in something vintage to use as your closure, right? And so vintage, new, I mean, and so on and so forth. So lots of fun stuff. Anyway, these are super adorable. They kind of go with my color scheme. So those are clipped onto the spine dangles. All right, they're little Care Bears. We've got the front piece with the my charms, just super adorable. Hopefully by the time you're watching this, they still have these, but I looked at a lot of options. I mean, it would have been cool to find vintage charms, but I just wasn't able to locate any vintage charms, but I think that would have been super cute. They've probably been pricey. Again, these were very reasonable. I think Charm-It in general is very reasonable. I bought it for my niece's birthday. Bought her a charm bracelet and some charms, and I actually bought myself some too because they were super cute. Anyway, so they get clipped on, little guys, and then I will take the last one and we'll clip it onto some internal pieces. So super adorable. In order to get it off, they'll either have to slide this off or unhook the charm bracelet type deal. So for the purposes of this, I am going to, I have a bunch of family photos in here, so I probably have to flip everything around as family photos before I can show you this, but I want to do a flip through with you, which I'm really excited to do. So let's plan on doing that next. But here's the outside cover with all the little charms, with our elastic band closure, which I think is super cute. And of course, we have our, I probably will never use these grommets again because they refuse to lay flat, but friendship bracelet, string closures, and of course all of our little picture dangles, Care Bear picture dangles. So this is going, and she's chunky, folks. She is very chunky. I had originally planned on 5 signatures. I probably could have gotten away with just doing 3 because she is really big once I put everything in here. So I definitely it was a lot. It was a lot of stuff that, and in fact, I probably over purchased stuff as I was going through and planning this because I have a ton of stuff left over. So, and I'll tell you at the end what I'm going to do with all of those because I have something that I'm working on that I'm really excited to show you that is in the same Care Bears theme. And I think it's going to be really cool. Okay. So there she is. And the next, let me flip all of the family photos around so you, because I don't have permission to show those people's faces on here. But, and then we can do a complete flip through. Okay, I think I have everything turned around now so we can do the complete flip through. And like I said, she's chunky. I did a lot of things. I'll walk you through kind of some of the interesting things that I did. This is part of the outside cover that was left over. So I sewed it in and created a pocket, which I've just got some stickers and things that I'm going to tuck in the front so that they can use them as they go. Same edge banding. I edge banded some of the pages, right? And as you know, reminder that I had this fabric to do the inside. So that was pretty cool. I made a bunch of fold outs that these are just, again, because I don't intend to sell this, there's not really copyright issues for utilizing images that you find online. So I found a whole bunch of things on Pinterest and created these cool fold out things, flip outs that they can write on and or tuck additional things in. I also, a lot of these papers, the thicker papers, this is watercolor paper that I just watercolored clouds and rainbow-esque type things on. And then I came back through and stenciled on some things throughout. You'll see the stenciling in some random places. Again, these are just images and things that for the tucks that I found on Etsy, or not Etsy, but on Pinterest that I ended up printing out. That's a photograph, so I won't pull it out. And then I had found an entire vintage stock, not opened, postcard set. So those are tucked in through here. They are from the 80s. They were kind of accordion folded into this neat package. But they've, you know, I actually have 2 sets of these, so they're super cute. They're vintage postcards, original stock from the 80s that had never been opened. So that was super fun. And of course, then I put my Care Bear on here and little dangle, and I will clip this bad boy together. Okay. Again, a lot of, I found a wide notebook page that was extra wide, which I'll link in Amazon, that was easy to do. When you fold it in half, the lines are running the right way. I also found a lot of these on Pinterest as well, like notebook page. They're a little fuzzy once you blow them up, but I think all in all, not terrible. Images. This, of course, is the book page out of the children's book. And as we flip through here, I made some little rosettes out of just a stack of wonky circles that created. And then there's things like this that fold out. These are the photographs, as I mentioned, that I folded around backwards. Of course, nowadays we don't have, a lot of our photographs are digital. So what do you do with them? So I printed out the photographs on good paper and then I mounted them. This is I had made some essentially scraped paint across some old file folders. The file folders are super thick, or it may have been, this one actually may have been really thick watercolor paper. Anyway, so it made like a really thick backer for the photographs on the other side. So, and again, tuck spots out of some of the graphics that I used, stenciled on top of a lot of these pages. Again, here's one of those watercolor images, and it has a fold out. There's a photo tucked in here. The fold out is actually an envelope, so they can tuck in stuff into the envelope. Of course, I have, Care Bear stickers. I had a ton of Care Bear stickers throughout. Here's that napkin that I had found. I also have a ton of, I had just finished a lesson in fodder school where we made these little vignettes of papers, dyed papers and things like that. And then I had stuck them all together. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with them, so I actually tucked them throughout. They have a lot of hot pink and gold and purples in here, and they have cute. I had some little sayings that are super cute. So this one says, "Babe, you are the CEO of your own life. Hire, fire, and promote accordingly." Anyway, I have those tucked throughout just as kind of cute messages. Again, the theme of Care Bears with encouragement and all of that. And so I thought those went really well with this. Again, tuck spot, I just cut from a little scrap, makes it look like a little cloud. We have the pieces in the background. Again, I think these were just patterns that I had printed out on paper. So you could definitely use paper from scrapbooking paper or whatever the case may be, but I printed scrapbooking paper you'd have to have relatively long. This is 8x8 square. I'm not sure why I decided to go with this size, but anyway. Oh, it was because of the book pages. The children's book that I found had 8x8 pages, so that kind of dictated what I wanted to do without having to cut the children's book. Anyway, in here, again, stuck in here are some envelopes that they can put stuff in, definite stickers and stenciling on top of a lot of things just to kind of tie into all the pictures and things together because it was looking a little disjointed. Of course, we have, I also made some of these that you can pull out. So these are just scrapbook papers, and they come in packs. I'll see if I can link these packs of papers. Again, scraped indoor stencil papers and just junk pieces of papers put together with a brad. So, and these tuck in. This made this fold out and also flips open so that there's additional hidden areas where you can write on. These again this was a little vintage Care Bears book that I left pages of that in there. This again, these have areas where you could flip out and add additional things, as well as cute tuck spots where I just glued in a belly band, stenciled in the background. And then this is what I mentioned, because this is me. I can show you this one. This is the cardstock, or I think it's watercolor paper. I took and cut out the photos. After I glued the photos on there, the edges were coming up a little bit. So I actually went over all of these with matte medium, which is why it kind of looks brushy there. But anyway, so that sticks on there. And then again, these fold out. So I have some of these little tiny envelopes flipping up. I tried to leave enough space so that you could actually journal in this book, not just tuck things in. So there are a lot of pages that are blank. Another little tuck spot. Again, I had this is part of that props packet that had the giant Care Bear faces in it. And so I had actually, part of it is on another page, as you saw. And then I made these little clouds for the tuck spots. I included a bunch of Polaroids from us as kids in here. Here's another one that kind of flips out. There's a bunch of different parts and pieces here that could flip out on the back side. Same way with this. There's an envelope in here. These were playing cards. I won't pull that out, but I took some, it's a game. I think they're letters. You'll see them throughout. I put a little grommet on the top of there, and then that's what they look like on the back side. So, and I have, our Polaroids from as kids tucked in throughout the book. This is another painted paper that I had made, which kind of went, luckily enough, and goes with the theme. Here's another one of those vintage postcards, just kind of tucked in there into a tuck spot. Here's the book page. Again, I even went over the book pages with some stenciling as well to kind of, again, tie all of the cohesively tie all of this together with some stenciling. So there's stenciling throughout. So it kind of brings everything together intentionally. Here's another page that I created off of images that I found on Pinterest. Essentially, here we go. We have this was another piece within that props area that I created a little tuck spot out of. This was something, as I mentioned, I put together some of these with grommets. These are just watercolor paper that I had been doing some. Oh, I watercolor stained these with stencils, and so I took the little card and then grommeted it together. It just tucks in a little belly band here. This is the cover. So that was the first signature. Cover of the next signature is the book. I don't remember, I stuck something down. I didn't like it. I tore it off, and then I ended up needing to cover it up. So I just took a band and stuck to the outside. Here's another one. This little guy won't stay closed, but anyway, another little area where they can write on, painted papers, flips up. Tried to anywhere where I had to flip up and not have any white area, so that's on the back side so they can write on it. There's another little area. This doesn't, I think that one's stuck down. A couple of vintage photos, another one of those postcards. This is actually photographs of our mom from when she was younger, which I thought was fitting. Here's another little tuck spot with a little thing. This is on the back side of this is another image, photograph tie on the back side of this one. Flip out. I also found this really cool. It's a doodle pad that you would like put on your desk underneath your keyboard. And it was long. I'll link it in the down below. I'll link it down below. And so they had big sheets, and then I was able to cut portions of this out to go in here. So that was fun. Just another little tuck area that you could tuck something in. I don't know, that one got really wonky somehow in the process of stitching this in. Here's another cloud, just tuck spot on top of one of those book pages with a photo tucked in. Here's another one. Again, don't throw away. This is the tag off of, I think the tag off of the outside cover, the thing that was originally the outside cover. So, include those. Keep all of your little bits and pieces so this folds out. Here's another one of those, Cinderella never asked for a prince, she asked for a night off and a dress. Another one of those little fun messages tucked in. Painted papers, again stitched stitched down the trim from the front, from the outside cover. Stenciled on some things. Here's another image, a photograph that's tucked in here. Stenciling galore. Just allows you to be able to have a little bit of interest on top of the papers, but you can still write on top of it without any issues here. So all of these are glued down. Most of the things that are on here, some sort of tuck spot that allows you to be able to put stuff in. I was going to put a bunch of clips and things like that on here before to keep these secure, so I'll put those back in. All kinds of just, there's areas where I didn't really add anything because I want them to be able to have space to write and journal. Here's another one. This is something cute. I had these they're ends to, let me pull this out. They're ends to a file folder, right, that I had cut up. And it was just the top tab area. And I was like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do with these. I had made them into little tiny folders using some masking tape, right? And I thought, what would be really cute and have little folders that you could open up that were themed. So this one is when you're sad. I have there's a little tuck on the front with some little end of something, and they're little heart patches that I tucked in here. When you're sad, and then when you open it up, I actually took a vintage typewriter and typed out these cute messages. Beautiful things are never perfect. Sometimes it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to cry. It's okay to feel what you feel. So little messages so that you could, and then, nothing will make you happy until you choose to be happy. Again, another little message from some project I was working on. So anyway, fun stuff that you can tuck in. Feel free to tuck whatever you want inside, but I thought that was super cute. There's like 4 of these throughout that you'll see. Here's just flip through here real quick. Another photograph tucked in here. Writing space. Here's one when you're disappointed. Every one of these, I also tucked in one of these. If it doesn't make you feel fabulous, don't do it. Don't buy it. Don't keep it. And in here again, another little heart patch that you can take out. And this one says, if you are a beautiful, smart, talented, and strong woman, you are so loved. Be kind to yourself and know that amazing things are coming. Every day is a chance to begin again. Don't focus on the failures of yesterday. Start today with positive thoughts and expectations. So I just thought this was a super cute way to incorporate something fun in that's kind of interactive. Again, we have another one of those papers that are just kind of tucked in that they could easily write on. But the blue kind of made me think of a little stormy guy here. Okay, so another photo stuck in a little pocket. Here's another one of those postcards. These are super fun. That's tucked in here. Again, painted papers. Here's the big giant faces. Those are tucked in. Unfortunately, he got a little bit of stuff on him, but then he's okay. Okay, so that's signature number 2. Signature number 3 is, again, painted papers with some things stuck to it. A belly band with another postcard. That one's Christmas themed, I think. Areas for them to journal. You are my sunshine. This was just, actually, I think this is I have a book with a bunch of these really cute sayings in it. Another item, let me flip this one over. I actually included a little heart or a little flower on the top of this one. But there's the photograph on there as well. Flip open. I think this one has a little area where you could tuck some stuff in. We got our little Care Bear guy, another photograph. This stuff, I don't think this flips up. It's just a bunch of different things stuck on top of the back of that page. This little guy flips out. You can pull him. Does he flip out? I don't remember. Okay. Maybe he doesn't flip out. Maybe he's just stuck. Okay. He flips out like so. Just stick him down with probably a clippy. Again, there's little areas within all the book pages that have, this is another one of those that you can pull out. There's nothing on the back side of this, just stuck with a little brad together. I thought that was cute. Those kind of go together. Another tuck spot with some more Polaroids from when we were little. Another cute vintage postcard, Care Bears postcard. Again, these are just painted papers where I drew lines on the front. Here's another one where this is a photo and another one of those tucks. I want every little girl who's told that she is bossy to be told instead she has leadership skills. I'm pretty sure, yeah, this is a picture of my niece and I together. She's playing doctor, so it was super cute. She was telling me that I was spoken. Another one of those tucks. Again, this was vintage tea dyed and stained papers that I also went over with some stenciling, I think, on top of them, and just added some little things on top and stuck a brad on them, which is super fun. And they just tuck in. You can pull them out and write on them. Of course, the cat, when we were little, my sister's cat, I thought I'd throw that in there. Anyway, all of these flip through. There's some that just pull out. Obviously, there's us as kids. Tuck that in. So that's us, my sister and I, when we were little. Not that it matters, but I included vintage photographs of us, whatnot. More areas to write. Add and tuck things. I clipped on some of the little charms, of course, that I had that were extra. They're stuck in here. Born to Sparkle. This is another one of those pages that you can pull out. I left these. I remember I had mentioned that I had used what looked like friendship bracelet. I found this on Amazon. I'll link it below. It turned out super cute. So I left those dangly on the inside so you could tie stuff to them if you wanted to. And again, just flipping through pages. Here's another one of those postcards. Plant some love and watch it grow. This is another big giant image that's tucked in there. I love the fact that it's actually bigger than, and it coordinates with the end piece. That was super cute. It's one of my favorite photos of my niece and nephews. Be the Rainbow. Here's another photograph tucked in. There's Be the Rainbow in someone else's clouds. Flip outs. Anywhere where there are flip outs. Here's another photograph tucked in, a tuck spot on the corner of this page. I added little tabbies and things to the ends of some of the pages. There's another giant head on the back side. We've got another one of those things that tucks in here. There's nothing on the back side, I don't think, of this one, so it would just pull out. I added some of my little stickers. He's not sticking down for some reason. I have to glue him. Yeah, so, and again, a lot of these have the flip ups. I tried to make sure that where there's a lot of white space that I stenciled on, you know, a variety of things just to give it a little bit more interest. And again, it ties everything together. A lot of stickers throughout. I'm going to actually throw in an entire couple pages of stickers so they can go through and add more if they want. Here's another one of those for when your day sucks. Here's our little heart. And the message on the inside says, let one bad day be one bad day. Life isn't sunshine all the time. That's just the way it is. You can't let one bad day or one bad moment hold so much power over you. We tend to shift our focus when bad things happen, which is so heartbreaking, because when we do that, we forget about all the beauty we have to be thankful for. So that one's tucked in with another vintage photograph. Our Polaroid photograph, and here's another one of those vintage postcards. So just tucked, a bunch of stuff in together. Super cute. Of course, my painted papers. This has room to put stuff in behind it. That's another photograph that's been tucked into a belly band. Painted papers again. This is just watercolor paper. I had real wide watercolor paper that I had actually done a whole bunch of variety of different watercolor. This is just scrappy hearts that are all over. And I came back and drew wonky heart outlines and tipped it with a couple of little whites. But I mean, it wasn't anything complicated. Anybody can do this, and that it's a nice, really thick watercolor paper. Anyway, I don't think this got stuck all the way down. Okay, so that's the third signature. Fourth signature again has stuff in here, tucked in here, more spots for notes, more areas to add stuff, pages. I actually took one of the images of the giant Care Bear and I printed him, and then I flipped him and printed him again, so that way it looks like he's actually stuck on the outside. Anyway, I wish I had done more of that because I think those are super cute. This was just an image that I think I found on Pinterest that I took and then just, printed the image, flipped the image, printed it again, and then stuck it on there, which is fun. Another photograph tucked in here. My little sister was really big on My Little Ponies also, so I thought this was super cute. My Little Pony and the Care Bears together, a nod to our childhood. This is again that doodle pad images. These are my painted papers also that I created. Another image tucked in here under a belly band. Here's another one for when life feels tougher than it should be. There's another heart. You are not behind. You are not lost. You are exactly where your soul needs to be to bloom next. Trust the timings. Speak life into your days and walk like you already have everything you need. Whenever you find yourself doubting how far you can go, just remember how far you can come. I actually bought a vintage typewriter and I was testing this. It's been years and years and years since I used an actual vintage typewriter. Unfortunately, what I remembered afterwards is the fact that you cannot fix your spelling. So spelling mistakes and all, left them in there. So yeah, I literally was typing with 2 fingers again. There's another vintage postcard tucked in here. These, of course, I took a bunch of images and I lined the images up together, printed it on a piece of paper, and then just folded them. And I did that on both sides, which I thought was fun. There's again those napkins are in there. This is just a heart that folded over with a sticker. Here's another one of the little dangles that I tucked on here. Some paper lace. I have a bunch of these little envelopes, so I stuck them in so you could stick things inside of them. Little paper clips come in all kinds of shapes. I found some ones that are in the shapes of hearts, so that's clipped on there. This pulls out again the same way, so you could write on it. And that flips up as well. Care Bears, vintage Care Bear looking photos. There's my string. I had some paper tags that I created, so I just made them so you could write on the back. I found these little grommets that are in the shapes of flowers, which are super cute. I wish I'd used more of those, but I had made these previously and then didn't know what I was going to do with them. And so as I was putting things together for here, I tacked the hearts on that I had. And it was a matter of I have a bucket of stuff that I've made along the way. Luckily, I use a lot of the same kind of pink and blue. That's kind of been lately the color scheme that I've been working on. So a lot of this stuff all just kind of goes together. This scraped paper was originally for another project that I did. And luckily, it's in kind of that same color scheme that goes with this. So Rise Before Guys, of course. This was a cute vintage graphic that I think I found on Pinterest. Again, there's a tuck spot here. I didn't like whatever was on the front page of this. It was kind of a dumb. It's a graphic from the book, but it wasn't anything that was cute. So that's completely stuck down. Here's another. It's a photo. Luckily, the photo matches, which is not coincidental. But yeah, there's this flips down. You could add additional stuff to the back of there. I added this graphic to the top of here, Fill Your Day with Sunshine. That's another one of those postcards. And every one of these that I tacked on here has space to put something in or tuck something on, right on an area or whatever the case may be. So even that little corner is a tuck spot. So super fun. I stuck that down and then it was stuck. And so unfortunately, sometimes you make mistakes. We'll leave it where it is. Super cute. This one even is a tuck area that you could tuck something in behind. Of course, there's my giant faces from that pack of stuff. And that's it. Thank you guys. This was so much fun. And I'm really glad I was able to share this entire process with you guys. Let me stick this thing back on here. It was loads and loads of fun to do. And I'm really glad I could take you along on my journey of creating this. Not everything that you create when it comes to junk journaling has to be vintage. Not that I don't love the vintagey look of things. Vintage can also be Care Bears from the 80s. Vintage can be, you can do any theme that you want. I actually thought I would do one that's cat themed. Not that I have a cat, but I found a whole bunch of really cute cat images and cat charms and cat patches and all of that. So I might do that one next. But if you sit tight for just a second, I have an exciting announcement next that I want to go over with you. I had so much stuff left over, so much stuff that I purchased to put this together along the way that I have a ton of Care Bear stuff left over. And I want to create a special gift for you. So in video 3, if you go on to watch video 3, I'll explain in video 3 exactly what it is that we're doing next with the Care Bears, because this is not the end. And I'm super excited for you guys to see what I'm doing in that video because it's a giveaway. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate, if nothing else, for people to come along the journey and see the things that I create, because I think this stuff is super fun.